Welcome students to a session on improving listening skills. This is the first module on improving listening skills. Is it not true that we listen to the spoken word almost all the time we are awake? Probably the mother tongue in almost all our everyday conversations, and English in the academic situations, that is in your college situations. And you might also be using English in your professional settings, that is in your job situations. The focus today is on improving listening skills. We have with us in our studio Mrs. L. Vijayalakshmi, lecturer in English, to discuss the strategies of improving our listening skills. Welcome Mrs. Vijayalakshmi amidst us.
Thank you Mrs. Sai Lakshmi. Hello students, I am very happy to be here with you and to share some of the well established ideas on listening skills.
At the outset, let us analyze the term skill. What do we understand by the word skill?
Skill is an ability to do something. When it comes to language, it is the ability to understand the language that you listen to understand whatever you read, and to be able to write and speak whatever you want to express correctly and effectively.
So, from what you have said, it can be said that a skill is the ability to do something effectively, and the language skills are listening, speaking, reading and writing. As I said earlier, the focus today is on improving listening skills. Let me ask you Mrs. Vijayalakshmi, is there a difference between listening and hearing?
That's an interesting question. There is a difference between listening and hearing. Listening is a conscious effort made by anyone to understand what is spoken. Hearing is perceiving sounds.
So, can we say and understand this with an example of this sort? For example, when two people are speaking to each other and the television is on in the room, for example, that could be you and me. Listening is when I listen to you and understand all that you say, and hearing is the sounds of the television that is in the background. Hence, it can be said that listening is a conscious effort made by anyone to understand the language. To read it once again, listening is a conscious effort made by anyone to understand what is spoken. Since listening is such a conscious effort made by the listener, so very different from hearing, I would like to ask you a question, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi. Are there good listeners and poor listeners?
Yes, you can classify them as good listeners and poor listeners. A good listener is one who is attentive, gets the main idea and can list the supporting points.
I would like to repeat that, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi. A good listener is one who is attentive, gets the main idea, can list the supporting details. And what about a poor listener?
A poor listener is one who is inattentive, shows dislike towards the speaker and not interested in what is spoken.
Let me sum that up. A poor listener is one who is inattentive, shows dislike towards the speaker, is uninterested. We have said so much about listening and hearing and who a good listener is and who a poor listener is. Let us hope that the students we have in our studios are good listeners. Now, question to you, who is a good listener?
Who is attentive,
Who is attentive? Exactly.
who is interested
Who is interested
in listening,
in listening? Okay.
Shows respect towards the speaker.
Okay, shows respect towards the speaker. No answer is wrong. But when you listen to something, what are you looking for?
something informative,
Something informative. And how can that something informative be classified?
Something which is presented attractively.
which is known unknown.
Known and unknown, yes. Now, anything that has, the main ideas, can you give me the next word? A good listener is one who is attentive, who appreciates the speaker.
Who is interested.
All that you have said, yes, who is interested and who gets to know the main points. What are the 4 skills of language learning?
Listening,
Listening,
speaking,
speaking,
writing,
writing,
reading.
and reading. You have been real good listeners. Let me ask you another question. What is a skill?
Ability to read,
Ability to read, okay.
Ability to understand others,
Ability to understand others,
what they are speaking, or
okay, what they are speaking.
ability to do the work,
Ability to do what type of work? And ability to do how? How do we do it?
after undergoing a training.
After undergoing training. That is, ability to do something effectively, and when it is in language, to do it correctly. Now, let's move on to understand the techniques that help us to improve our listening skills. To do that, let us first listen to a sample passage.
Work is divided among people. A worker builds houses. A worker makes furniture. Some others grow food. This method is helpful to do work quickly and perfectly. When work is divided among workers, it is called division of labor.
What is the passage about?
about the workers,
About workers. Can you be closer? The topic sentence or the topic word, what is it about?
It's about labor's division of works.
Division of labor, exactly. And I would like to ask you another question. Why or how is division of labor helpful to us?
division of labors help the workers to work effectively.
Yes, effectively, is that alone?
To share the work,
To share the work, okay. But something more appropriate from what you heard, that's what we are practicing. We are practicing listening skills. We need to be more exact. Division of labor or work divided helps us to do it,
improve the work,
improve it, make it
Easy,
easy, and make it
more accurate,
accurate. Okay, I will supply the answer, to make it quickly and perfectly. Can you tell me how many types of works are being referred to in the passage that you heard?
3 times.
3 types, accurate. You have just come out accurate with the answer. That was real good listening. The passage is about work and division of labor, and when work is divided, it is done quickly and perfectly, and 3 types of works are mentioned in the passage. These were the 3 questions addressed to you. Now, let's see what we look for when we listen to something that is spoken either in the classroom or even elsewhere. What do we look for?
When we listen to something, we have to understand it from 2 angles. The 2 things that we have to remember while we are listening are: understand the main idea or ideas.
Let me repeat that. What do we listen for? We listen for the main idea. We listen for the specific details. There is something that I would like to ask you, Mrs. Vijay Lakshmi. Now, this is about how do we actually attack the listening or understand while listening. Many a time there is a possibility that we come across an unfamiliar word. When such is the case, what do we do to understand what we are listening to?
This is often case, when we are dealing with language like English, we do come across new words and phrases. We are apprehensive about that. The best way to deal with such words and phrases is place it in the context and guess the meaning from the context.
Shall I repeat that? Strategies for better listening. The first one is guessing the meaning of unfamiliar words from their context. We have seen that guessing for meanings of unfamiliar words from their context is an important strategy in listening or to improve your listening. Now, just let us apply that. Mrs. Vijayalakshmi had just said that unfamiliar words make us apprehensive. Apprehensive seems to be a difficult word. What could be the meaning of the word apprehensive?
Provoking.
Provoking. What does it provoke?
Means make you to listen more.
So, it provokes you to listen more. An unfamiliar word provokes you to listen more?
Yes.
Yes.
Makes to concentrate more on the subject or the phrase.
So, apprehensive is equivalent to concentrating?
Yeah.
That's
it-
what you think?
Listen to other words.
Listen to other words. Now, I would like to ask Mrs. Vijayalakshmi the meaning of the word apprehensive. You have said it is provoke and you have said it is concentrate. Let us hear from Mrs. Vijayalakshmi what it exactly means.
As the technique that has been detailed to you now, that is, when we come across unfamiliar words, automatically it stops our smooth reading. Do you feel it?
Yes.
Yes. So, when we come across unfamiliar words, automatically our concentration is abstracted and naturally we are worried of the meaning of the new one. Is it?
Yes.
So, we can think by this, the word apprehensive means worried.
I would like to repeat that. The word apprehensive means being worried. And if the word still worries you and you have not really guessed the meaning of the word from context, there is nothing to be apprehensive about. All we need to do is note the word, the problem word, and later check it up in the dictionary. This would improve your vocabulary as well. There is yet another strategy which improves our listening skills, and I am sure Mrs. Vijayalakshmi would agree with me when I say that taking down notes while listening to something does help the students to listen better, especially in the classroom situations.
Exactly. That technique of taking down notes will be highly helpful for them during the classroom sessions. That has an added advantage too. They can go back to the information once again and have the reference of the information that have listened to.
We have just seen strategies for better listening. We have seen one, guessing for meaning, and the second one is taking down notes. Students, our viewers, we have just seen two strategies, that is guessing for meanings and taking down notes. While taking down notes, we take down the main points and the supporting details. Now, let us listen to a passage, and I would like you to take down the notes for the passage that you are just going to listen to.
Vahan Shatani was a magnificent actor who acted not only on stage but in real life too, and saved the brutal murder of 65 officers by the Russian soldiers. He was a young actor on the Armenian stage in the first half of the 20th century. He was 6 feet tall, had broad shoulders and dark eyes, which were full of life. In one word, he was handsome, and so handsome that men were envious of him, but all women admired him.
Students, having heard the passage that was just played, you must have taken down some points. I hope you have not taken them down word to word. Here is the model response to your passage. You can see that on the screen just coming up. Vahan Shatani, magnificent actor of the Armenian stage, saved 65 officers from Russian soldiers, was very handsome, Having seen the model response for note taking for the passage that you have just heard, I would like to tell you that it is very important to note the topic idea such as Vahan Shatauni and that he is an Armenian actor. The next thing that I would advise all our students is, if there are any figures, kindly note them down while listening to it, such as the figure 65. Coming to the next strategy, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi, do you think translating is a good strategy for improving our listening skills?
Yes, many people do not like this strategy. In fact, it will be highly helpful in the early stages. However, translating all the time will let down the pace of understanding of the learner.
So, can we add translating into one's mother tongue to the list of strategies to improve our listening skills?
Definitely.
And that it should be added only in the early stages. Okay. A recap of all the strategies that we have just learned to improve our listening skills. Strategies for better listening. Guessing the meaning from context, taking down notes, and translating. And translating, beware, you should be using it only in the early stages. Finally, to sum up all that we have discussed, from what is a skill to good listener to poor listener and to the strategies, we can say that improving listening skills involves being attentive, guessing for meanings, taking down notes, listening to English as often as possible, translating into one's mother tongue, beware, only in the early stages. It's now time, students, to apply these techniques to improve your listening skills. In the sessions that follow on improving listening skills, you will listen to passages and dialogues and even passages from Comtech to test your listening skills. And before we close, let me thank Mrs. Vijayalakshmi for being with us in this session to discuss the strategies for improving our listening skills. Thank you, madam.
It has been my pleasure to be here with you and the students to discuss various strategies to improve listening skills. I wish the students would apply all the techniques that have been discussed in this session, and they would improve definitely their listening skills. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam, for being with us once again. And students, I would advise you to come prepared to the class next session with your papers and pens to apply the techniques that you have just listened to the tests that follow. Regarding the tests, the sections that they involve, you will be instructed very clearly before the test begins. So, we shall meet again in the future sessions. Until then, goodbye.